When we say watch out for flying children, you see what we mean. My job description is I give the opportunity for people to be amazing. I started Circus Harmony to expand the circus education opportunities for youth in the St. Louis area.
Yeah, my neighborhood is not a safe place. A car is coming down the street with this guy off a sunroof shooting his pistol at this group of people on the porch. It was crazy. Like, that could have been like the last of me.
King started with me when he was 12.
Jessica and I've been knowing her for like half my life.
But we had moments where he would quit or I would put him out.
When I was selling drugs in gangs, she was the one that would be in my corner. And she was always there for me like a mom. My mom died when I was 3 years old. My uncle got shot in my house, in my living room. I couldn't sleep in my house, so she took me in. One
thing that I found out about circus, it is like a family. And you know that the people you're working with are going to take care.
In the circus, you have people from all over. So I get a feel for all different nationalities in my cast.
At Circus Harmony, we say circus teaches the art of life. While you're learning to flip, fly, and juggle, you learn important life skills.
So I learned how to trust, respect, teamwork, focus.
What child gets to do this?
Traveling around the world and seeing how big the world is puts everything in perspective.
Watch out who you're calling a thug, because that term is thrown around all the time now and often used for young men of color. You don't know what people are capable of in phenomenal ways. Welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Jessica Hentoff, and this is the Circus Harmony Up in the Air live stream on City Museum's Facebook page every Tuesday at 4 o'clock Central Time. Today we have a very special guest. The video you were just watching was about one of our alumni, Sydney King Bateman. And if you look in the comments page, right under the video information, there's a series of videos about Sydney or by Sydney, and we'll be talking about them in a moment. I'm very excited to welcome him to the show. He was a performer with us, a coach. He went on from Circus Harmony to the National Circus School in Montreal, and from there he toured around the world with an amazing company called Seven Fingers. He's worked with Cirque du Soleil, and his new chapter might surprise you. So now I'm thrilled to bring to you Sydney King Bateman. Sydney, you are now live. There's a little delay, which is always all strange. You know what? I was going to also show some pictures of you, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to do that since I'm such a techno peasant. Yeah, see, like there we go. But welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Where to begin? Do you want to talk about how you came to Circus Harmony?
Sure. So, I believe I was 10 or 9 at the time when I was older when I sold my first circus show. I can't. I don't know
Of
how.
ours, I think you might have been 11 or 12.
Okay, I know I started when I was 11, but I know it was a big gap before from seeing Circus Flora to actually going into Circus Harmony.
Right, right.
I was around that age, and my mentor Diane Rankin, she took me to see Circus Flora in the summer, and I
And
just
she
thought
took you to see the circus because you had told her something.
because I used to tumble all the time with my brothers and with friends and making lots and things like that since I was 3 years old, and so I always had a passion for acrobatics, and so my mentor and I, we had a relationship where we would do special fun things on the weekend. It was a nice way to escape reality for me. So one Saturday, I believe, she took me to see Circus Flora. And I've never seen the circus in my life. I didn't really know what it was. And I think intermission happened, and I told her I wanted to leave. And I think the first act after intermission were the St. Louis Arches. And she said, "You sure you want to leave?" I said, "Yes, I'm very sure." And I think I was walking out and I saw like globes or something. I don't know if you had globes in.
Yeah, there were some of the shows that probably was ours. I mean, if there were globes, they were definitely ours.
For sure. So I know if I saw that and I saw some things happening, I'm just like, yeah. So I left. And I didn't know that my mentor was taking me to meet up with Jessica to meet the St. Louis Arches because I guess she spoke to you and told you that I like to flip. And so I guess she told her to bring me to Circus Florida. So that was a failed attempt by the first time to get me to introducing me to Jessica. So after that, I don't know if it was probably 5 or more months later, I went to the City Museum with her, and I saw these mats just lying in the middle of the ring, and I just went into the ring and I started flipping on them. And then the coach Donald, he said, "Hey, you can't be flipping here unless you are a student." And all I thought in my mind was, I just want to flip. How do I become a student? And so he gave me these papers. I filled them out, turned them in, and pretty soon after that, I was in my very first circus class, which was called Patchwork at the time. And that's how circus started for me. And I can't remember how long, was it 8 weeks or something like that?
Gosh, I don't know because the patchwork circus was when we had kids from all different places and we called it the patchwork circus. And it really was quite a mix of kids. It had originally started as just a Jewish and Muslim group, Circus Salam Shalom. But then one of the Jewish kids said, "Hey, can my friend Lindsay join? She's Christian."
Yeah.
And it's the circus. So we said, of course, yes, anybody can join. And it expanded from there and became the Patchwork Circus. And when you started with us, we just had a handful of students. We had the Arches and this other small group, maybe 12 kids. And now we serve over 1,000 kids a year. Well, when we can serve people pre and post coronavirus. So
Yeah.
it's grown a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think back. Like I haven't even thought about that time in a long time, except for since I just said it. Also, my brother joined at the same time. We had the same patchwork class, and also a friend from the neighborhood, Deontay. So the three of us from my neighborhood, we were all there at the same time, which is crazy to see how our lives have different paths, different endings.
Yeah. But let's talk about your path, as I'm sure when Diane Rankin took you these places, it never occurred to you that you were going to be in the circus. What did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
Honestly, I don't even know what I thought I was going to be. You know, it was such an amazing feat to reach 18. That's what all my friends were like. "Oh, I'm blessed to see 18." Not my friends, but like my brother's friends, older people. "I'm blessed to see 18." Then as I got a little bit older, some people were saying I'm blessed to see 21. And so I'm like, wow, that's the goal, I guess, which is pretty crazy for a kid to think life starts now. And I guess the end all is reaching 18 or 21. That's what you're blessed to, that age, or you're blessed to reach that age.
That's an achievement just to make it to 21.
Exactly. And so I didn't really have like dreams and like things of being
anything. I wanted to be a football player, basketball player. I didn't go the
I
route.
remember you loving basketball.
I love basketball, and I still love basketball. But and I guess I just automatically said I want to be these things because I loved it and I played the sport. And so my mind was already made up, I guess, but it was hard to think that football or basketball because I was also in a game and wasn't the smartest guy in school. So everything was up in the air.
I disagree with you because we were talking once and I was really impressed with how smart you were. You didn't do well in school.
That's what I said,
You
right?
got in trouble, but you knew a lot of things. We were talking about the government and you knew all the branches of government and you probably don't remember that conversation, but I remember you getting in trouble in school.
For sure, there are certain things that I was very proud of that I still remembered throughout my school days, for sure. But I think you can put it that way. I was getting in trouble a lot, and I just think that was what was cool. Being in trouble, being not the outcast, but the rebel. And
You were also very sensitive if somebody like brushed past you.
a lot of these things I don't remember as much because also you told me I was very shy. My mentor as well, I was very shy, and I just don't see myself being shy.
Nobody thinks of you as shy anymore, that's for sure.
I for sure was. It was easy. I had very very easy triggers. To people can pull those triggers easily. If someone said a joke about my mom or things like that, it was a no. It was zero tolerance for that. And so I remember things like that. I got into trouble a lot because that was mom jokes were the thing back then. I just wasn't having that. Someone like called me the B word and all. It was just a lot of stupid things. Not stupid, but just small things that I really didn't. I really wasn't fond of. And so, but yes, kind of got off. We can talk for hours.
So yeah, so you were in the circus and you were incredibly talented, a phenomenal tumbler, but you also learned juggling, rolling globe, everything that we did, partner acrobatics. And was the first time you went out of town with us when we went with Circus 4 to Charleston, South Carolina? Or
was that the first time? I don't know.
Clearly, audience at home, we did not talk about this beforehand.
For sure not. Yeah, I don't know. You'd probably know better. Which came first, Charleston or San Francisco, Ico?
Oh, San Francisco was amazing. It was San Francisco. So we went to the American Youth Circus Festival in San Francisco, would have been 2005, maybe 5 or 6. And it was your first time on a plane.
Yep.
You were actually a little disappointed that it wasn't more G-force or something. You were like, this is boring.
I thought it was going to be a lot scarier than what it actually was. And I don't know if it was me or Lamar or Richard saying, can they have a parachute? Because not even thinking like, to operate a parachute, that requires a lot of training and a lot of work as well. So, but yeah, that was my first time out of St. Louis. And it was pretty.
Can you even guess how many planes you've been on and how many miles you have traveled and how many times you have gone around the world with different circuses?
I don't even want to imagine because it puts me back on the plane and try to self-plane as less as possible.
Right, but we went to the ICO Festival in San Francisco. We went to Charleston, South Carolina, was a big trip. And then we went to Israel, our very first Peace Through Pyramids partnership with the Jewish Arab Youth Circus, the Galilee Circus in Israel. And that was a heck of a place.
That was pretty brutal. It was brutal.
It took us 12 hours to get there with the plane changes
but then also even the drive to the village we were staying, that took a toll on me as well. But I was just so young, so naive, and I didn't really soak that trip in. I didn't really take full advantage of where I was and what I was experiencing until I guess I left. And the second time that we went, it was a lot better for sure. But I struggled, and I think that was the first time I really realized that growing up where I grew up, things were so different around the world, and I had to escape that little bubble that I was in, or I would not be able to enjoy the greater things in life, the greater places in life, the people in life. And so it was a lot
That
of
was the trip that Big Donald was the coach, but Little Donald, his son, asked his mom, could he go to Israel? And his mom said, Israel? Israel better be in St. Louis.
You see, now I must clarify that whole saying and everything, because that's actually Dion's mom that said that, but Anthony mixed it up. Said it was Little Donald.
Dion got to go.
Dion got to go. Dion's mom said Israel better be in St. Louis, and but on camera it looked like it was it sounded like it was
because that scene is a very iconic scene from the movie Circus Kids, which was made by Alexander Lipsitz about that first visit to Israel. And subsequently, Cynthia Levinson wrote an amazing book called Watch Out for Flying Kids about our ongoing partnership with the Galilee Circus. And you're one of the main characters in that book. The book is still for sale. It's been translated into Japanese, and it's used in middle schools in Japanese to teach about, in Japan, to teach about diversity. And she profiled like different kids from the St. Louis Arches, Circus Harmony's group, and different kids from the Galilee Circus. And it's a great book, and people can get it through the Circus Harmony website. I didn't put a link up to the Circus Kids video. You can see the trailer for it on Circus Harmony's YouTube page, and we do sell the video if people are interested. But that first visit where you wouldn't eat any of the Israeli food, and it was just, we went to the places, we went to the desert, we were performing all over this amazing place. We were in places where they were very anti-Arab. I don't know if you remember going into a store and some of the shopkeepers picked out the Arab boys and didn't realize that all those American kids were with the Arab boys, and you guys all walked out in solidarity.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. I know Misa, I can't remember her name, but I think it's Misa. She was accused of stealing from the store.
Right.
So
just because she was an Arab girl.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And that's why I said, coming from St. Louis, little North City, Walnut Park, thinking that the world revolves around my few streets, my few neighborhoods or whatever, and to see that just how different everything is and how separated, how culturally divided Israel is. And I was just, wow, just taken back. Just like, I really need to not only open up, but accept that the world is a lot bigger than Walnut Park. And for the longest time, I've never realized it. I never understood it. And so that's why being in Israel that first time, no matter how closed-minded I was, it was a huge, a great experience for me because I learned so much from that one trip. Only 2 weeks, right? It was a thing.
Camping out, and we were with Michael, whose parents were both preachers, and he knew all the biblical significance of everywhere we were and would share it to us. And we camped out by the Jordan River. I mean, it was an amazing trip. So then we came back and fast forward, you applied to the very prestigious École Nationale de Cirque, the National Circus School of Montreal. And that story is very well told in the PBS. There's a mini PBS documentary called The Acrobat, which is like your life condensed into 8 minutes up until the time they made that movie. And you talk about when you found out you got in.
Yeah, I feel like we just skipped a lot of stuff as well, but we can always jump back. We have so much.
Really. What else do you want to talk about your high school years? Because you were in the circus, but then you would leave the circus.
Yeah, and so the hardest thing for me was trying to balance life as a circus performer and as a gang member. I really live 2 different lives, and I have 2 different names, but my middle name and my first name. Sydney, I was known as at school, and I King was like the neighborhood name, circus name, and everyone from circus called me I King. And so I was always Sydney at school in games and things like that, but I was I King to my close family and friends and everyone in the circus. And so people knew that Sydney flipped because I flipped at school. and people from circus knew Akeem flipped because I was in the circus. And so it would be arguments like, I have this guy named Akeem that can flip. I'll flip anyone in the neighborhood. You know, my friend Sydney is the best. And it was like, I bet Sydney can beat Akeem. No, Akeem can beat Sydney. It was hilarious because one time it happened to Donald, and Donald was like, yo, Sydney and Akeem is the same person. It was super funny. and so that was just a little joke. But yeah, I really lived two lives, and the hardest part was trying to balance circus and school because I wanted to keep them completely separate because circus wasn't normal for someone like myself. I was going
Now,
to
what did the people in your neighborhood, if they heard the word circus, they thought you were like a freak or a clown?
And like monkey, all things that wearing tights and stuff like that. Like we weren't accepting to the things that we didn't know about, and so it was hard for people to understand it, yet alone accept it. And so when people ask me, what did you do? I said, I flipped. I was really nervous and I didn't want to spark up a conversation to saying that I was in the circus. So I said, I just flipped. And I also played basketball. I ran track and things like that in school. But those are seasonal sports. What happens when basketball? Yeah, I have nothing to do, so I go back to the games. What happens when track and field ends? I have nothing, so I go back to a game. Circus was all year. It was after school, and it consumed so much of my time. And so I was trying to play the game where I would do circus when I had so much time on my hand. And then when I get bored of it and basketball season starts up, I will go back to basketball. And my basketball coach was willing to let me do both, but Jessica told me that the Arches was a full-time job and you had to commit one. And so it was hard for me to accept circus fully because I wasn't able to give up other parts of my life, such as basketball, track, and football, all of these things. And luckily enough, she was very flexible with me when I would leave and come back and give me all these chances for sure. And
what was the turning point for you?
I was just going to go into that part. So it was after, I think this was 2008. I think that's after the first time we went to Circus Israel. We came back. I had quit circus, and I was actually done. I wasn't in Circus Florida that summer or anything. I was playing basketball. I was happy as I could be with my normal life. And so then Matthew Viverito, he messed his back up. And so you called me and asked me if I could replace Matt for Circus Florida. Right. And so I think that was the green costumes, the lizards, creatures of the forest or whatever. And swamp. So swamp, yeah. And so I came back to replace Matt for the summer. And then you asked me if I can go to Salina, Kansas, or something like this.
Oh, Salina, Kansas, right. Yeah, and performed there.
I said, I don't think so. I have to play basketball, all of these things. I was committed, even though I probably wasn't committed. I just wasn't trying to commit to circus for longer because I knew I would get sucked back in. And so you were so broken because you asked me this question at the end, and I also remember Eliana being super angry, and she said some mean words to me that I won't repeat. Actually weren't so bad, but I think that you guys wanted me to stay. I only said I was going to help with Circus Florida, and so I went about my way. And then
blocked that part. Yep.
I got into so much trouble that following year, and this is when I hit rock bottom. So school started. I can't even remember what time of the year it was, honestly, but I got into a huge gang fight. And this is after I had left circus, came back. Left circus and came back. I can't even count how many times I did that. But after that Circus Florida that I replaced for Matt, like I was done. And then I hit rock bottom where I got into a huge gang fight at school. I got thrown into a cop car, mace all in my eyes, handcuffs with all of the guys that I was fighting into the back of a cop van, and they took us to the Justice Center. And I was sitting in there, and I was just broken. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, just contemplating everything that had happened, life as well. And what am I doing? The guys that I was fighting tried to give me these talks talking about, man, you a good dude and all of these. I'm like, shut up. And we just like got to arguing and all of these things. I finally get out and I try to go to school like a few days after, and they said, "You don't go here. You've been expelled." So I have to go home. Told my grandmother, and I just went off the rails. I got into a stolen car, all this stuff, and had a huge accident. I ran away from home. Was living with my friend on his living room couch, and then my grandmother called. I don't know if she called my mentor. Then my mentor probably called you, and you called Donald. But all I know is
We tracked you down.
you guys tracked me down in like Walnut Park, the one of the craziest neighborhoods in St. Louis, and you see Donald and my mentor walk. My mentor walked into Union and to my friend's house, and they knocked on the door, and someone said, "Come in." No one come in. That's how it is in the neighborhood. And Donald and my mentor walked in as I'm chilling on the couch, legs up, and had a huge bump on my forehead from the car accident that previous night. And they came in, and Donald said, "Can I say what he said? Or could
I don't know what he said.
He just said hell.
Please?
But he said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I said, he said, "What are you doing?" And he just talked to me. And
Because he had that same turning point
yeah,
where
Donald.
he thought he was missing something and he went back on the street because he's like, I spent all the time with you, but all my friends are having fun. And I remember when he came back and he said, I was wrong.
Yeah. And I don't mention it a lot, but Donald also played a huge role throughout my circus career because Donald and I, we bumped heads a lot. But I will get to that point. I will talk about Donald afterwards. But he came to me and he said, "What are you doing?" And he said, he gave me a long speech or whatever. And he had disappointment in his face. My mentor had disappointment in her face. But they took me back to my grandmother's house and they were talking to me in the living room. And they thought that this was going to change or whatever, but it didn't. That summer, I spent a lot of time with just the wrong people out all night. I started selling drugs. I had lots of things, stupid stuff that was happening for sure. And then that summer was the summer that my friend that I was in a gang fight with. So it was me, him, and other friend. He was shot and killed, and that took me over. I was already low. I just went to a place that was so much darker, and so it was hard. And so I didn't care about school. I didn't care about anything. I was hanging with Jesse a lot too, and we were just doing stupid stuff, you know? And then Circus Florida rolls around, and then you invite me to see Circus Florida. And this, I've been out of circus. I was out of school for the second semester, all of this. And I hardly went home, rarely went home. You called me and said, "Hey, you want to come and see Circus Florida?" I said, whatever, maybe I'll come or whatever. And I came, and it was raining. It was raining, it was thundering and all of these things. I think the show was cut short, but I caught the Arches Act right before. And if I wouldn't have caught the Arches Act, I don't think I would have continued circus. I don't think I would have had this moment of, I'm really screwing my life up. And like at that time, Melvin and T-Rock was also in the Arches. And I've met them before, but I never had a close relationship. I thought, oh, they're cool. They come from where I come from. I can relate to them. They were cool people. And so I went to see the show. There was Anthony, Keaton, Kellen, the same Arches, but the new people such as Melvin.
Ahmad, Anthony.
Yeah, all of those guys. And it took me back to the first time I was on stage at Circus Florida, how much fun they were having, how they interacted with the audience, how everyone was engaged in that act. And I was like, man, I am really walking away from something that could potentially save my life, but something that I really, really connected with, something that really took me away from the streets. And so it was heavy on my heart that like I was falling into the footsteps of my brothers and my uncles, and it was all about the decision that I was making. I couldn't say that no one gave me a shot, because Circus gave me every opportunity to be great, but I was using that whole my life is crap. Like, and I would walk away from it. And that was all me. That was my doing. There was no one, there wasn't the system, there wasn't anything. That was me doing that to myself. And so at that moment, after I left, I talked to Melvin and T-Rock as well afterwards. I don't really know what the conversation was about, but that night, those two boys convinced me to come back to Circus. And I don't think they had to say much about convincing me. It was a whole of me watching the show, being disappointed in myself, seeing two guys that I think that are cool. And then we just chatted afterwards. It didn't take much convincing, but I was there. My friend had got shot. I was like, I don't want to end up like my friend. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do everything possible to get back on the right track. And then that's begun the uphill battle that I had to fight.
I'm trying to remember what year that was, because this past December 2019, I was backstage at Cirque du Soleil with you and Melvin and T-Rock, all working together on the same Cirque du Soleil show. Who would have thought from that?
2009, because 2010, my senior year, the school year started up again, and I tried to go to Beaumont thinking that everything was going to be okay. New year, I was expelled for that year. They said, nope, you can't go here. So they sent me to alternative school, which I see something. I went there, and they told me if I performed well my first semester, I can go back and graduate with my class and everything like that. And this alternative school, we had to wear a button-down shirt,
I remember khaki
pants, and we had to wear plain shoes or whatever. And I was in the school with all of these bad people, that rejects, I guess you can, not rejects, but people that have been expelled, made bad decisions or whatever. But I put all of that, trying to be popular, being the funny guy aside, and I was likable. Everyone liked me. The teachers liked me. I had like great grades all across the board. That's the first time in my life where I really focused and buckled down to do well in school. And I had like a 3.4 or something like this, something. And I was so proud of myself. And I went back to Beaumont that following year, and I got to play basketball. I reconnected with you. I was doing circuits as level 2, so I didn't have so much commitment, which I don't know why I didn't decide to do that before, but that was something.
Right. People who don't know Circus Harmony, the Arches is a full commitment, but you can be a student at the circus and
level 2
and do less.
And it was pretty amazing. And so things were starting to make sense. And then basketball season finished. I worked my way up. I didn't just get into the Arches. I worked my butt. I was being respectful.
Was Tom Dougherty there then?
He was not there at that time.
Well, and you worked with Warren. At one point, you were the first person to get the double somersault.
Oh, that was when I was 15. That was
way before. That was when we went to Israel, right?
Yeah, that
just
was.
All those years just go together. Okay, so.
We would need a lot more Zoom meeting if we wanted to talk year by year.
Yeah, and this is also, the podcast has to be done because the Arches actually are practicing today at 5 on our new show. So things were like falling into place. And so when basketball season finished, I spoke to Jessica. I worked my way up back into the Arches. I was in the Arches with Melvin, T-Rock, a bunch of cool people. And it was all great. That was the Golden Arches.
Yep. I mean, you can call it the Golden Arches, but the Golden Arches was a while back.
You guys were a great group of people, which is why so many of you are professional performers now. You and Keaton, Eliana, Kellen, Claire.
Yeah, you're right for sure. I can agree with that. But and then towards the end of the year, and this is a pivotal moment in my life that I'm going to talk about, where I always knew circus was my family. And there was one moment in my life before when my uncle was shot, you took me into your home. That was the first part but I was young and I still wasn't getting it. And then this moment in my life where I was supposed to graduate, but they told me that my credits didn't match up or something like that.
So I was one credit.
It was one credit or something like that. And so they told me I can't participate in all the senior activities. I can't go I can't walk the stage with my class, all of these things. And I was just like, I was so torn. I was so torn because I worked my butt off. I know I made mistakes, but I worked my butt off to get to that point, to walk the stage, to do all of these senior year activities, the things that my friend that was shot and killed didn't get to do because he was a year above me. So I said, I want to go to prom because of him. I'm going to do all of these things that he wasn't able to do because he was shot and killed. I'm going to do those in his honor. And I'm going to finish school and do something great. And so when they told me I couldn't do that, I couldn't do this, it started tearing me apart. And I was like, man. And it was so tough. And so the day of my graduation, we had floor practice. And I'm like, I'm not walking, so I'm not going to go. So I'm like so dirty, sweaty, because we're practicing in Circus floor, running the acting things. And I go check my phone, and I have like tons of missed calls, text messages, voicemail saying, Sydney, they said you can walk the stage. Hurry up, come down here. Like hours, 2 hours later and things. And so just to let me go. I don't know who took me. It was like Claire or someone. I don't know who ran me. Someone ran me to my school out in tights and shorts and a tank top, and I see the last person walking on across the stage, and I was like, dang. Like I was so heartbroken because I worked that hard to do it. They told me I could, but I couldn't. And so we drive back to Circus Florida, and it wasn't a long ride, but it was a long ride because I was just silent. I didn't say anything. Oh man, I'm like, I'm getting like touchy right now.
It was, yeah. Because you had a lot of disappointments in your life that you couldn't control, and that was one of many. And you had done everything right.
So
I don't know that you saw what I put up for Father's Day on Circus Harmony.
I did that.
Okay.
That's why it's hard. So
you got back to the circus, and we knew what happened.
And everyone knew what happened, and I feel like I'm a lot more emotional these days.
You know why? Because now you're a dad yourself, and it changes your outlook on life and your past and those moments.
And so I get to Florida, and they heard what happened. I don't know how they did this in such a short time, but it was a red carpet in the ring, and I walked from, I don't know how they did. They had me walk through the curtain.
Yeah, the music, we were playing the graduation song. So Dorothy Carpenter had made a beautiful diploma.
And David Balding was there.
And that's what that picture when I was, Father's Day is a day for fathers, and I wished you a happy Father's Day with your beautiful daughter and stepson. But there are all these men in the world who are fathers, even not of their biological kids.
Yeah.
Warren, certainly when you were coming up, and that moment with David where he handed you the diploma.
Yeah, I walked through the red carpet. They were playing this music. He handed me this diploma. He gave me a big speech saying we're always going to be family and all of these heartfelt things. And it was that moment where I said I didn't have no matter how many times I walked away, these people have never walked away from me, never turned their back on me, and they've always been there for me every step of the way. And from David Balding, Cecil, everyone, to you guys watching me grow, watching me make mistakes, and you watching me learn from those mistakes, and you were there and when I wasn't there for myself. And so it was just a pretty amazing moment. And then after that, I said, I'm not just doing whatever I'm doing for myself or my friend Jarrell, but I'm doing it for everyone here in the circus as well, because everyone is watching me and they want me to do something great. I know I had many thoughts in my head how devastated it would be to so many people to hear that Sydney was shot and killed from being whatever. And I don't know if that's selfish to say that people will feel this way, but these are the things I thought about. I didn't want to be just another guy on a shirt, because that's when we celebrate crazy stuff in the hood, when someone dies or someone's
Right
no
now
longer
it's a hashtag. Yeah.
and it's crazy. And so from that moment on, I finished everything. And that summer, I don't know when, maybe I applied earlier, but I applied to Circus, to ENC after that. I wanted to further my circus career. And
And you got in.
I did get in. It was, but it was a long journey because I wasn't able to apply the year I graduated in 2010. Hi.
And it was also having to raise the money because
Yeah.
it's not cheap to go to circus school and move to Canada and all that.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And so this is, Tom was there around that time, I believe, but he came after, because I took a year off. I graduated in 2010. 2011, I wasn't able to attend the school because I didn't get my diploma in time or before the applications were due. And so I took a year off, and I learned so much in that year than I did in my entire life before. Just community service, respecting. I really preach respect, and being on time, and all of these things, taking care of my workplace before myself, and things like that. And I grew a lot with Tom. And the following year, that year, I tried out for ENC with T-Rock, Anthony, and Warren accompanied us on that trip as well. He was pretty amazing. And that process, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know, but it was a week-long, cuts every day. Well, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I believe. But if you made it
Monday
past
and Tuesday, they cut people.
Yep, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you're good, but you have to wait another month or so, or until you get the results. And I didn't have an email address at that time, so my email on file was Jessica's, and we got the results April 1st, and she told me, "Hey, your results are in. Are you sitting down?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I'm sorry, but you didn't make it." And I said, "Okay." So I sat down and I started to think. I was taking a deep breath, and I think it was probably like a second or two after. She's like, "I'm just joking. You made it." And I was,
Sorry, I can't.
I don't think she remembered that until I said it in the story.
I didn't, and it's really, you tell the story in the PBS documentary, The Acrobat.
Yeah.
So we literally only have 15 minutes now to go for how you got from there, where you got into ENC and went to Montreal.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did 3 years at ENC. It was a struggle. It was fun. It was long. It was hard. But I graduated 2014 as a
Tell
duo.
me about graduation, the act that you did for your graduation, like that you and Melvin created.
So Melvin and I created this hoop diving act, and the hoop symbolizes just our life. And every time we jumped through one hoop, we were leaving the old behind into this new world. And every time we jumped through, it was like us experiencing this new life that we were going to experience in our entire circus career. And it really started from back in St. Louis. We were always running away from something, and then something else happens. It was our life that we were portraying in this act, because no matter how far you go, there's always some bump in the road. And that happens to everyone for sure. But it was specifically to where we come from. Like every time, every corner, every next street, there's always something. And you always have to run away from something, and always you're taking some things with you from that last world. But at the very end, we knew not to like to go back and things like that. It's hard to explain now. It's been so long ago, but that's the gist of it.
And then you guys were both hired by the Seven Fingers Company. They
Yeah.
were making the show Cuisine and Confessions, and they used that act, and they interviewed you. And the soundtrack of that act was you guys talking about growing up Black in St. Louis and just waiting to be the next young person to get killed or arrested.
Yep.
And And then that act went on the road. That was the summer of 2014. That act went on the road, Cuisine and Confessions. And that summer, Mike Brown was killed in Ferguson.
Yep.
And it really made that act even more powerful. And this is a public announcement, everybody. That show, Cuisine and Confessions, is being released tomorrow online. Seven Fingers has been releasing shows like a lot of circuses for people to watch. And it's just a coincidence that tomorrow they're going to put Cuisine and Confessions out and people can watch the whole show, which is a very moving show, one of my favorite circuses of all time. And especially that act. And they actually, for your act, they changed the hoops to squares. Wasn't that even more symbolize the doorways?
Doorways, but also just aesthetically with the whole kitchen set. Squares
Right.
better than circles. And so, yeah, so we did that show for 2.5 years. That show was pretty amazing.
I got an email in the middle of the night from Argentina from a guy who saw you guys, recognized you from City Museum, and just had to tell me how amazing it was.
Yeah, it was a great show. By far the best show that I've been a part of because I helped create it. It was my story. So it was pretty amazing. So I finished that show 2017 in the summer, or not. I believe I finished that show in April 2017. After that, I did Circus Flora without Melvin. Then I went to Quebec City to do Flip Fabrique. And then after that, I did Midnight Circus. And then I joined Cirque du Soleil Lucia.
I just want to put in a PS that all the places you've been in the world, you always manage to find a basketball court and play basketball.
Always, even in Russia. And it was the sketchiest place ever.
Might be easy in Chicago, but Russia, that was a little hard.
Russia was hard. I actually ran into a guy that I hung out with in Montreal. His name was Jesse Freeston. I'm probably putting it, but I played basketball with him, and he does like documentaries and all of these things. And we were in Argentina with Sir Cuisine and Confession, and we were at a cumbia concert, and he was there. I like turned around and looked. He was like, no way, dude. We get to talk to in Argentina. Like, how does that happen? Pretty funny.
That's wild. I was trying to see, but it's not pulling up on my phone. If people had any questions for you, they'll just have to write them. Also, I know we're fast forwarding. You ended up on Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah,
with
Cirque du Soleil.
Doing hoop diving again and Chinese pole with Melvin. And then they hired T-Rock. Then Cirque du Soleil, we have like 10 minutes. Cirque du Soleil did this PR thing with the WWE.
Yeah, and so we were in Orlando, and the WWE in Orlando, in Cirque du Soleil,
wrestling entertainment for people who
have this relationship with the Performance Center, and the Performance Center is it's a training facility with the newest talents. They hire people that from gymnasts to acrobats like myself, actors, pro athletes, and they train them in wrestling for the hopes of these guys can become a huge deal or whatever. And so they have this ongoing little workshop that they do. They will take some of the Performance Center talent and take them to Cirque du Soleil and try a bunch of things. And the Cirque du Soleil guys would go to the Performance Center and do a day in the wrestling. And so they told us we were going to do that. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so down. I'm so down.
One of the reasons you moved out from living with me was because I wouldn't let you watch WWE when you were a kid. And now look. So you went and did it.
And so, yeah, I did that exchange. And I mean, the first time I walked into that building, it had, I don't know if I'm going to say what it had on the wall, but they want you to be coachable. And I walked into the weight room, and then we walked into the actual ring, the room with the rings, and we started running the ropes, and we doing all these flips off the ropes and things like that. And I saw one of the coaches is Scott Garland, Scotty Too Hottie. I don't know if anyone knows, but he's the guy that did the Worm long time ago, childhood favorite. This guy, and he said he was like looking up the side of his eye. He said, "Yo, you that again." I did it. And then when he did that, the wheels got to turning for me. I'm like, you know what?
Kind of like when Donald saw you in the ring.
Yeah, the wheels got to turning, and I went to the coach the next day saying, hey, how does one get involved? He said, well, we have a tryout next week. I said, really? Because the day I asked him, we were done that Sunday. So the timing matched up perfectly. That was on Tuesday. Our last show was Sunday. The tryouts were Wednesday. So I said, he said, if you want to do it, then get it cleared from your people, and then I'll send you the information. The next morning or that night, I said, hey, it's all clear. I can do the tryout. It's my week off, so it's fine. He said, cool. Next morning, I wake up with emails saying, hey, I need this, and this. I said, cool. I sent them all of that stuff, pictures and all of these things. An hour later, plane ticket, hotel, rental car, you're going to be able to try out. I said, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And so I just wasn't prepared, didn't know anything about it. I started watching videos and saying, okay, what to expect with these tryouts and things. And I went there, and it was basically the same thing as the ENT tryout. Go there, be my, not the exact same thing. It was not much weighted. We were like 45 people. I was 44 because I was the last one. And I said, just be myself and do what I do best. And that's entertain, acrobatics, all of these things. And so I started to, in the tryout, we had to do these roles. And I've just started killing the roles. The coach comes to me and said, hey, next time when you do it, add a little flair on it. Show these guys what you can do. So I started doing all of these crazy acrobatic flips after the simple forward roll, backward roll, back tuck, back hamstring, back tuck, spin around, all of these things. And then heads got to turning. And I said, you know what? That's what I have to do. They're going to know me as the circus guy, which it sounds funny, but they're going to remember me out of 45 people as the circus guy when they're making their final cut. And so pretty close to the last day, I told a story about how I wasn't able to go 2 streets over because of rival gangs, how I traveled the world as an acrobat, went to ears for all of these things, and they loved that story. And the day before we had to finish, one of the people came to me and said, hey, we like your story. We think you're a stud athlete. Let's talk about going farther. And so I said, this is pretty amazing. I left on cloud 9, but they told me they wanted me, but it was never a definite yes. So I had to continue to work. So I showed initiative by traveling with Circus LA, finishing on my contract, but looking for, it was a basketball gym before, but now it was always wrestling school. So I was searching wrestling everywhere, and I was training.
So people should follow you because on social media, you're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah.
Tell them your handles or your.
On Instagram, I'm at Sydney Iking. That's SIDNEY IKING. Insta and Twitter, it is Sydney Iking WWE.
And so people should follow you. And you've also been posting videos of your life. Like you did the first and second chapter. That's in the links of all those videos. And we only have 5 minutes, but those are just so moving to hear how you got from there. And so now here you are working for the WWE, NXT. And you also just put out a video that I want to tell people before they watch it. It's called We Matter. It's a very powerful and very disturbing video, and it's about what's happening right now in the world. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, I hope your daughter and stepson don't see it, and you're like, no, everyone should see it. But that's on the list of links too. But people should follow your career. You've already made like an appearance on WWE, and
Monday Night Raw.
Going from the tumbling in the street, to tumbling in the circus ring, to now you'll be tumbling in the wrestling ring.
In the square ring, always in a ring. So,
but you're still you. It's Iking. You're Iking, or Sydney Iking, or however people know you.
Yeah.
You've always been a very powerful personality, but you've always also let people, people have always wanted to support you, but you let them.
Yeah. And that's
and you in turn have supported mentored a lot of other kids. You're one of the most favorite guest coaches when you come to town. I want to thank you every time you do come to St. Louis when we're not in the middle of a pandemic. You've always been so generous with your time and giving it back to the next generation.
Warren said it best. Warren was a very influential coach in my life. Means so much to me. He had a coach like that in his life when he was younger, and he asked his coach, "How do I repay you?" He said, "Just pay it forward, pass it on."
He was
and,
my coach too.
Yeah, and he
I
did
did
that.
it too.
He told me that story. I didn't even have to ask him what I have to do to pay him back. I just knew that I have to pass it on, and so that's why I came back, and I always teach and talk to the kids and things like that. And me being here, it just makes the platform that I'm on a lot bigger, so I can reach a lot more people. And I'm hoping that, and I could have stayed in circus for the rest of my life.
Easily.
It would have been amazing. But how does it sound when I go from the streets to circus to most prestigious circus school in the world to one of the best circus companies in Seven Fingers to one of the largest worldwide circuses in Circus Lake to the biggest sports entertainment company in the world? That gives a kid that looks like me in the hood so much hope that you don't have to be a rapper, a football player, a basketball player. The three things that I was only limited to in my life. They say, you know what, we can be. They don't have to do circus and WWE, but it's something different. That he did something. Whatever they want. And so my big thing is this platform, a lot more money, a lot more exposure, and so I can do a lot more things. Furthering the circus community in St. Louis, giving you guys a bigger space, a community center where kids can escape.
You've also been speaking to other people when you're here. You were doing speaking in prison. What you do is you show people that you can be successful.
Yeah.
Where you're from, neighborhood, your parents, if you had parents, you were raised by your grandma.
Yeah.
You're
had the hardest life, but my life was pretty hard. And I know if I can overcome that, then we can all overcome all of the sad, the most tragic things in our lives. And that's why I grind so hard, because everything I do is a testament to what anyone out there that is in my situation or even worse they can do it, and some even do it better. But it's my duty to say this message to these people. I just can't keep it for myself and reap all of the benefits. That'll be selfish.
You absolutely portrayed the Circus Harmony mission of defying gravity and soaring with confidence and leaping over social barriers. So thank you for being you. Thank you for coming on the live stream. And I hope everybody watches all those videos and the Cuisine and Confession video.
Wait, thank you so much.
All right, love you. Thanks.
Bye.
Be safe.
You too.
Bye. Bye. Thank you everybody for watching iKing's story, and do check out all his videos. He's a remarkable young man, and keep following and supporting Circus Harmony so that we can help other remarkable young men and women to also be successful. And thanks for letting us make your day a circus day.